Rich Rodriguez, from KJ Harris, Big Joe, Kevin Koken, T.O.R.
And man, just keep doing what you're doing because you have a message.
I think one of the greatest college running backs ever, obviously in the history of West Virginia, but also if you look at the stats, what he did in college football.
What's going on? What's going on? I'm Eugene Napoleon, and this is Relatively Sports with Eugene Napoleon. Listen, I wanted to come up here because I'm super excited. You already know what this upcoming week is, the Backyard Brawl. Let me be clear. For someone who played in both of these games, at both of these institutions, I'm here to tell you, I'm not going to give too much away because we're going to be talking about this game all week. And until its conclusion, we're going to be talking about this game. But I want to get in the state of college football right now, and you see what's going on. You see what's happening at Colorado. I think every time you turn on the TV, you are starting to see that's much watched college football right now. Colorado and what Coach Prime is doing with that institution and with that football program is second to none. I'm curious to know, because I want to hear from the fans. Please hit it in the comment section or whatever the case, and let me know what do you think is happening right now with the state of college football. We talked about the transfer portal. I mentioned it every time I do an interview. People ask me about the transfer portal. The pros, the cons, all that good stuff. Here's the thing. I always say the transfer portal giveth and it taketh away, right? There are some institutions that they use the transfer portal correctly, and then there are those who don't. So therefore, if you use it right and you get the necessary pieces that you need, you can plug holes, right? It's no different than the free agency market when you deal with the NFL, okay? Same exact thing. If you don't use it correctly, you might get, unfortunately, hate to say it this way, but lack of better description, you might get somebody else's third or fourth string player, and you're thinking because they're coming from a big school that they actually fit what you need, and you get them in your program and realize you have better players in your own program that you didn't develop. That's the key with the transfer portal. It's a hit. It can be a potential hit and miss. Don't think just because the kid is coming from, or just using this as an example, a kid is coming from Auburn or Alabama or USC, that kid is going to be a fit for your program, because it truly is all about the fit. What do you need at that particular position to upgrade that position? Or again, if you don't get it right, you might get a kid that comes in and really messes up your locker room, because the chemistry of your locker room may have been really, decent prior to you bringing that kid in. He comes in and becomes what I call a locker room lawyer. A locker room lawyer is someone that goes around pouty mouth because they're not playing, or they think they came from, like I said, Alabama or Auburn or USC, and they're thinking because they came from such a big program that they should automatically step in and play. Technically, that's what the transfer portal does for you. It's supposed to upgrade that particular position, whatever it may be. Quarterback, running back, D lineman, defensive back, whatever. That's not always the case. So getting back to what Coach Prime is doing at Colorado, if you look at all the transitional players that he brought in through the portal, a lot of those guys, they're still jockeying and fighting for position to get reps. So the depth of what he brought in, not just the main guys, it's what's sitting behind them that is just as impressive. Now, he needs a lot more depth on the interior defensive line and offensive line. It's hard to find those big guys that can really move, right? They're saying that after this year, he's going to have to do a whole overhaul offensive lineman, defensive line, but who don't? Honestly, who don't? I think everybody is in that position. Technically, if you didn't bring them in from their freshman year, coming right out of high school, their freshman year, redshirt freshman year, and then you groomed them, and then you pretty much cultivated them, you pretty much, developed them. If you didn't do that, you have to hit the transfer portal. And those guys are usually juniors, seniors, redshirt seniors, grad, guys. They're going to leave within a year anyway. So I think that's going to always be a problem at certain positions. Up front is definitely, that's going to be an issue. But my point is, to see Colorado come from nowhere the last 2 or 3 years, winning one game, to now I think they're ranked in the top 25. I think they're ranked 20th in the country. Phenomenal. 20th in the country. Whether you like Deion Sanders or not, there's something to be said about his ability to motivate and to get the very best out of whoever's on the field. Offense, defense, special teams. There's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about the fact that I don't think people realize he's been coaching since Pop Warner. Since Pop Warner. So when you say, he doesn't have coaching experience, since Pop Warner, high school, obviously what he did at Jackson State, and then now what he's doing at Colorado. So the pedigree is there. Not even talking about the fact that we all know what he was as a player himself. So my point is, sometimes superstar players don't make the best coaches. But in this case, I think Colorado got it right. I think Coach Prime got it right by going to Colorado. I think it's a good fit for where he needs to be right now. I think he's changing the landscape of college football altogether. And I think this experiment is going to top out where people are going to wind up saying, you know what? The guy is doing an impeccable job. These young men are courteous. They're students. They work hard within the community. People respect them. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Type student athletes that he's bringing in. And that's what he's holding them accountable for. He wants them to be the very best they can be on the field, but equally the very best they can be off the field in the classroom, because he knows a lot of those guys are not going to go pro, but they'll go pro in something else. How about that? They'll go pro in business. They'll go pro in management. They'll go pro someplace else, wherever their degree lands them if they don't make it to the NFL. And that's not the tell-all, end-all. That's what I love about the message he's preaching. When he's sitting in those homes talking to parents, if your son comes here, he'll get a degree from a good school. Colorado's a good school. And we will make sure he gets an opportunity, if he's not playing football, to go use that degree and get a job somewhere. That's what it's all about. So I'm kudos to Coach Prime, kudos to the at Colorado for taking this shot. And right now, it looks like this experiment is doing quite well, going into week 3. They're 2-0. They play Colorado State, this upcoming week, which I think they'll be 3-0. Barring any catastrophes, they should be 3-0. But I'm happy for what's going on over there. Now let's get back to our Mountaineers. So this weekend, Pitt. And some of the things, I'm not going to get into all of it, like I said, because the whole week I'm going to be talking about the Backyard Brawl. The one thing I want to come up here and clarify, when you talk about a rivalry like Pitt and West Virginia, I don't care what anybody says. It even trumps, even though I don't like Penn State, I respect them. Don't like them, but I respect them. It even trumps West Virginia, Penn State. This is the sync for me personally. It's personal for obvious reasons, but it's always been that when you go back through the history of time when the Mountaineers play the Panthers, right? I know for sure, throw the records out the window. This is a game that if you want to start your legacy, if you want to be known for anything, if you want to have your name mentioned for years down the road, you play well in this game, and trust me, obviously a win would be great. But win, lose, or draw, you play well in this game, and people will remember your name for years to come. That's how big this game is. I know for sure if Coach Brown and his staff is working on some of the things that we need to work on to put the product on the field, to play against, I'm sure, a hungry Pitt Panther team, because they lost last week, so I'm sure they're going to be coming for some redemption. But so are we. We got something to prove. And as long as we play the way we supposed to play, and we play physical, we play, I'm not going to say mistake-free, because at this level, mistakes will be made. Let's say this, minimum mistakes. If we can minimize our mistakes and make sure that we make the type of plays late in the game, because that's what allows you to beat a team like Pittsburgh. You got to make the plays late in the game. Early on is what it's going to be. You take your blows, whatever the case may be, but that combination knockout punch in the third and fourth quarter, that's what you need to beat Pitt. Because trust me, they're going to be scratching and grinding and doing everything they need to do. The reason why I wore this team shirt is exactly for that purpose. This will have to be an all-out team win, a team effort to beat Pittsburgh. And I believe we can do that. I believe we can play well enough. We can do some things in the passing game, do some things in the running game to keep it close, and then hit them with that knockout punch in the fourth quarter. I want to get to the big out of this real quick, because I was hearing and reading some comments for some fans about what's going on with we need to get rid of them or whatever the case may be. I'm not sure most people know or understand, contracts and the way that they're negotiated at this level. Well, he's been extended, as we know, through 2026. That happened in 2021. But if you look at his contract and you look at the dollars and cents and these things, it adds up. Either way, it's going to cost. The business side of major college sports, you need to take that into account. You can't make an emotional decision because it's going to cost you in any way. I'm not saying that we are happy with the product that's being put on the field, especially if we don't win a certain amount of games this year. But I am saying just take into account the type of money that's tied up into a coach, a coach's contract. When you're making another $1 million per year through your extension, so if it's $4 million this year, 4.1 next year, 4.2 the year after that, 4.4 going into 2026, you think about what that means if that particular coach is fired. And it's general knowledge, so it's not that I'm saying something that it's a secret. No, you can look it up as general knowledge of what these coaches make. That becomes a problem because you still have to pay that coach out his contract. So the buyout, whatever the buyout clause is, it's a lot of money. So this is big, big business at the end of the day. And it just goes to show you, here's where college rolled into, because my years at WVU, our coaches didn't make nowhere near that kind of money. So now you look at it all these years later, and I get it. Trust me. I'm for the evolution of the sport. I'm for the evolution of these coaches making their money. I'm for the evolution of the universities growing by leaps and bounds. But my point is, if you're going to pay that type of money, you heard me say this many times before, if you're going to pay that type of money, then you have to get the results that you want in the end. And they have to be consistent results. To me, it's simple as that. That's basic business. I've been successful in business now for the last 28 years, my wife and I. So that's the bottom line. You got to check the bottom line. If the bottom line doesn't add up, then whatever you're doing, you need to stop doing, because if you're losing money, or like I said, that bottom line is not adding up, then it's not good business. And I'm here to say good business is always respected. So at this level, at West Virginia, we expect a certain level of excellence. And that's going to come, it has to come in wins, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about football here. Wins and losses. There's no gray area, wins and losses. So I'm hoping we get on track with these Pitt Panthers this upcoming week. And I know if we play the way we should play, it could be real interesting. And if it is, in the end, when the clock strikes 0-0-0, if we have more points than they do and we win this game, I believe we're going to put college football on notice that the Mountaineers is nothing to be played with. And moving forward, we got a chance to win 6-7 games. I will be very happy with that. Let's go bowling. Let's win the bowl game. And let's get back into winning at the level that West Virginia is accustomed to winning. So with that being said, I can't wait for the Backyard Brawl. Like I said, it's going to take a whole team effort to beat them Panthers, but I think we can do it. Let's go Mountaineers. I'll see you at the game. Peace.